let's kick off our Road to WrestleMania segment here. I wish we brought to you by something.
Snickers.
The fabulous Moolah Battle Royal.
Oh, shoot.
Okay, so basically, Raw and Smackdown, I felt, was a little light on the progression to WrestleMania because there was no Becky Lynch on either show.
Yeah, that was kind of funky, I thought. I know they're trying to, they're getting on the suspension gimmick, right? Maybe that's what they're trying to do, but at the same time, it's like the interest of the shows are kind of is down without her on it.
And so it's probably because they're building up to this Ric Flair birthday thing.
Yeah.
And she's got to show up there and interfere and, you know.
Should have showed up to the surprise party today. That's would have been a great angle.
Yeah, Rick had a lot of people. So there's a photo going around with Jericho, AJ Styles, Booker T. There's a couple other guys in it. Rick might have been in it. And then Evander Holyfield. And I look at that photo and I was like, God, Holyfield's the one who drew the more money out than anyone else.
Wow, that's true.
In that whole photo. So they kind of stalled the angle, and you know Charlotte did an interview on SmackDown, where she kind of kept things going, but you know nothing happened, and her boobs were bigger than ginormous, whatever the word is. Bigger than ginormous. That's what her boobs were in that blouse that she was wearing on SmackDown.
She's the man. She's awesome, man. She's great.
And you know, Ronda did
caught me off guard with that.
So that was the first thing I thought when I saw her. I was like, "Oh my God, lady!"
She looked great. She always does.
I'm like, "Lady, where did those come from?" And then. And then, you know, Ronda did her thing with Ruby Riott, which was sort of a improvisation based on what they wanted to do. And so, you know, kind of didn't make sense because Ronda kills Ruby Riott on the pay-per-view. And then coming back, it was just weird.
I just thought it was an easy fix to that would put Sarah Logan in that match. I think you should have had Ruby with the arm brace after getting her arm barred the night before. And that you got Sarah Logan looking for revenge for her, you know, for her teammate. And Sarah Logan is really good, very underrated, and she would have had a fantastic. I know Ronda did beat her a week prior when she beat Liv, and then she beat Sarah, but they could have done ways to make it seem that you know that Sarah can pull it out. Maybe she gets jumped from behind on her way out of the ring by Liv, so now she has a disadvantage, and then they have the match, and they could have a little longer match because. That's why, it was kind of weird to see. I know things were changed or whatever, but like, it just was funky to have her, you know, kill Ruby Riott on the pay-per-view and then have to go 15 minutes with Ruby Riott again on Raw. It just doesn't really make sense.
So we didn't really have a chance to talk about Elimination Chamber, and there's really not a whole lot coming out of that show, but they did do the big angle with. Becky hitting both Ronda and Charlotte with those stiff shots.
My gosh.
With the crutch. And, you know, Ronda's bloodied. She gets hit in the head. Charlotte's got bruises the next day. So, I mean, that was legit. They took a beating for that angle. What'd you think of it and as far as, like, progression? Because, I'll just say what I thought, which is it was cool, but then when you don't follow up on it on TV, I feel like it, like, just deflated it.
Yeah, no, the angle was great, very brutal. It went a little bit too long for me. It got almost uncomfortable because especially when I saw it, you know, when she hit it right in the head, right, you know, that shot to the head on Ronda was wow. But Ronda's a tough woman, so I thought the angle was great. Actually, I thought the pay-per-view was really good. I really enjoyed that pay-per-view a lot. Like it was an easy watch. A lot of the matches are good, but yeah, not following up on it is. Totally deflated what they accomplished at the pay-per-view.
Yeah. It was. I mean, understanding that they had issues with that show, as Big Dave and I were talking about on Wrestling Observer Radio on that Tuesday, they had real issues with the show and segments had to be canceled. And you would think, like, I mean, obviously Becky was probably not there or whatever. because she wasn't going to be on the show. So it's not like you could like call her up and tell her to get over here. But it was a little weird in how they usually do this stuff. What did you think about the NXT call up? So Johnny Gargano, Ciampa, Aleister Black, and Ricochet, they all come up sort of unannounced, not really teased at all. And they just show up and they have matches and they're just there with no real explanation.
I didn't like the execution of the call-ups. My theory regarding the call-ups is that when Fox acquired SmackDown, they also mentioned that they acquired other properties, to air other properties of WWE, and then people are talking about a UFC Tonight kind of show with WWE. It's going to be on like FS1 maybe. I think in the fall, I think NXT is going to FS1. I think that's what's going to happen. I think right now maybe the mindset is to start promoting these NXT guys on the main roster to get the casual audience, because that audience didn't go crazy for these guys. They didn't really know who they were. So I think this is a way to kind of get the brand over, because it's it's a developmental system, but it's the third brand.
Yeah,
that's why I think it's gonna happen. That's my theory. Execution did not like it at all. Aleister Black should not be having a full match. He should have came out. I don't mind him doing something to Elias. Elias should have had his guitar, started giving people, getting some cheap heat, about to sing a song, right? About to hit his chords on his guitar. Boom, Aleister Black's music comes out, right? He comes out, makes a long, they have a stare around. You get a close shot of their face to face, right? And Elias is upset. Is like, what are you doing? Why interrupt me? Blah, blah, blah. And leads up to his, don't you know this is like, WWE stands for We Walk with Elias. Right before his We Walk, boom, Black Mass knocks him out. And that's it. And you don't put him on the SmackDown the next day, because then it kind of defeats what you do the night before.
Yep.
Even though he had a great match at Andrade on SmackDown, I don't think they should have had that match. I think they should have keep some on Raw, some on SmackDown would be best. I didn't like beating the tag team champions after they just won it the next night on Raw, even with Ciampa and Gargano. I think they should have vignettes with these guys. The only one that I thought was decent was Ricochet's debut. I thought he did well. He came off really well, and they put him in a segment where I thought he came off, and he got the big win and looked good in that match. I do think it's funny that I like Finn Balor a lot. I kind of make fun of him that he's like Mr. Second Place, because but man, they really book him. Like, Vince sees him very specifically. Like, if you really watch their matches, that you watch the match at Elimination Chamber and watch the match on Raw, like, anytime he's in the ring with Bobby Lashley eats his lunch. eats his lunch. And it's like, he tags in Lita Rush. Now he's on the offense, right? Yep. So interesting. But I would say, just regarding Lashley, though, he's been doing great. I mean, he's intense. I like it.
The thing I didn't like about Lashley was, so Lio Rush loses the fall at Elimination Chamber, and Lashley's got to feign being upset. Take away the aggression, his upset face is the same as his normal face. Like, he doesn't have an upset face. It's just like the same stare. And then he just killed him. But I wish he was better at the facials and at the personality aspect of it. But I mean, he's been doing this forever. He's probably never going to get better at it.
I think his work has been fantastic. I think he's been looking really good. And I also want to, a lot of people bag on WWE and this and that. But you know what? Give him credit. They told Bobby Lashley, drop the damn sweatband off your head. You look like a dork, man.
Okay, so you mentioned the NXT guys not getting like the greatest applause when Triple H comes out and announces them. Nothing really did except one thing. So he comes out, he mentions Becky Lynch, modicum applause.
Which that surprised me.
He mentioned Kofi Kingston, biggest pop.
Yeah.
On the Raw show coming out of Elimination Chamber. So, we know that we basically told this story when it happened, which is Mustafa Ali comes out of that match. They got to find a way to put Kofi in it. They basically put Kofi into what they were going to do with Ali. And I think that was going to be Ali's role in the chamber to lead to the match at Fastlane with Daniel Bryan. So Kofi, taking advantage of that opportunity, is now in that spot, and the people love him because he's been around for so long. Just shows you when someone new, right?
Yeah.
People react to it. So I really liked the chamber match. I knew exactly what they were doing. Like, I did like how lots of fans thought he was going to win that match.
Yeah, that was great.
And, I'm telling people, I'm like, Kofi's going to get a bunch of near falls. Bryan's going over. That's the story they're going to tell. And as that match goes on, people are believing, oh, Kofi's going to win. Kofi's going to win. And he didn't win. And maybe in a, if you do that again, maybe he does win and you get that feel-good moment. But they're on their plan. They have their plan for WrestleMania. And now it's Kofi against Daniel Bryan at Fastlane, which I think people are going to be interested in.
I'm interested. Now does Mustafa Ali get the same reaction as Kofi's getting? No, because Kofi's been there longer. He's an established star. He's a popular star with a popular group of people. So I think it was just a good recipe that just came out and people got behind. And Kofi's people that always liked him. So, and they had a good match. And I'm looking forward to a single match. With Daniel Bryan in a match with Kofi, it's gonna be. They're probably gonna have the match tonight.
Yeah. I will say that if it was Ali, I think it's just as good. I think the wrestling is probably a little bit better. But the thing that you're right about is the fans don't really see him like that yet.
At that level, yeah.
And what that was going to be, it was going to be Daniel Bryan's way to get him up there. He didn't have to do that with Kofi because Kofi was already seen in a little bit higher of a light. So he didn't need to. But I do think like that was going to be sort of Daniel Bryan's like project, right? Like, I'm going to get this guy so that the people actually believe he's going to beat me.
Yeah, I think Daniel can get Ali over. I mean, Ali's an exciting guy. He's a good athlete. But without that history with the fans, I don't know if it gets that peak. But it would have still been a great match. I wonder if the fans, if this would have happened, the fans been rejected Ali because the WWE's pushing Ali.
I know.
Right? No, they'd be, oh, this is great. This is the best. Well, it's the same thing they do with Roman Reigns and everyone else. Mm-hmm. Guys, get over it, people.
So, what do you think? It doesn't sound like Ali or Kofi is going to be Daniel Bryan's opponent at WrestleMania. Well, I mean, do you have a sense of where they may be going?
I don't, actually. I do not. And this was kind of right now, Daniel Bryan's title run's a little more interesting to me because there's no clear path. So I'm actually a little more interested in SmackDown these days. So, I mean, who would you go with? I'm trying to think of guys. I mean, there's always, you go back to AJ if there's a reason why, but we've already seen a couple matches already. I thought Samoa Joe looked fantastic in the Elimination Chamber, and he's always like looks great, and you think he's gonna be a killer, and then he just kind of goes back to like in the mid card heel thing. Randy Orton is babyface. I'm not a fan of Randy Orton as babyface. He's a great heel, but they would have a hell of a match. So I don't know. Maybe Ray.
So we talked about Ray and Andrade, and Ray, being in maybe like a number one contenders match, and then Ray winning, and then he gets to face Daniel. But what I think Dave reported that from what he's hearing is they want to bring someone back either from injury or who hasn't been with the company in a
Kevin
little
Owens.
while. Kevin Owens is one of them. They're putting him in vignettes.
Which I don't get.
Fat guy vignettes.
Is this fat guy vignettes?
I don't know. He's like eating pizza and bowling. Like,
I guess so. Yeah.
I don't know how that is going to help him in any way, but
It can't be anything Sami Zayn. I don't see him as that kind of guy either for that spot. But then again,
if Kevin Owens comes back as a babyface, you're gonna have Sami Zayn as his sidekick still.
Yeah. See, I don't know Batista.
I mean, from what it seems like, is Batista wants just the match with Triple H so he could retire.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe he gets it still. Who knows? Triple H is still coming back from that torn pec. So
Undertaker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
What do
know.
you think about that whole situation with Starcast and Undertaker and
Funky people are going crazy online. AEW's taking over the world. They got the Undertaker. Someone's like, the best one I saw was like, can someone finally book Undertaker versus Sting? It's like, oh my goodness, Sting's not gonna wrestle again.
Sting wants to live a good life, quality of life for the rest of his life. Yeah, the Undertaker thing is funny, and what's interesting is, I would imagine Vince desperately doesn't want Undertaker to do it, so he's probably like trying to figure out ways to get out of it. But if you're Starcast and Conrad, that's like the buzz is like Taker, like that's like if you pull him out of that, you got a bunch of disappointed people who spent a lot of money to get those Starcast bracelets.
It could be John Cena.
Could be Cena.
I'm just trying to think. But, I still like to see Undertaker, Strowman have a match. I think Strowman needs something.
You know what would be funny? If it was John Cena, it would basically be Daniel Bryan giving him shit for not marrying his sister-in-law.
Oh, that'd be great. They can play a lot of that stuff about love and how I'm a real, exactly. Like... good guy, and I follow through my commitments and all. Yeah, they could do a lot of creative stuff with that.
That actually, I would actually like to see that if it was Cena. That would be a great storyline to do. Okay, so it looks like one of our predictions came a pay-per-view early because Mandy Rose beat Asuka on SmackDown, and it looks like they're leading to Fastlane. We had talked about sort of Mandy being maybe the Mania opponent, but they're doing it a little bit early. People didn't like that match, and I'm not saying that it was a classic, but I thought it worked for exactly what they were trying to do.
I thought they got the point across of what they wanted. Got some buzz, a little bit of buzz behind it. I didn't see anything wrong with it. I think everyone just thinks Asuka's just a killer and she should just destroy everyone, but she has to have some kind of give and take to build up her opponents.
So you mentioned Elimination Chamber. We can kind of go through a couple of the matches, but having two chamber matches, they've been doing this for a while now. The men's chamber was obviously a really good match.
Good call putting that last.
But the women's chamber, I thought, while it had its moments, there was a middle piece of it that was a little tough, but the end of it,
maybe a little beginning and middle.
But it was. I tweeted that like the whole first 10 minutes was like synchronized swimming.
Yeah, it was not. It wasn't starting out good. But I thought at the end,
it was good.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. And at the end, have some kind of momentum going. Having a good match going out. So I thought it was fine.
And so it looks like Sasha and Bayley are also going to be defending those titles in NXT as well. Like they were, like I know they were going to be Raw and SmackDown defend, but then I saw that they maybe showed up on the NXT taping.
Oh, I didn't see that. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, I don't know who they'll be wrestling at WrestleMania, but probably pre-show.
Yeah,
I'm guessing.
I know. But I like the way that it felt like a meaningful win when they did, because that's kind of the worry with those kind of belts is, and this is why I wanted Nia Jax and Tamina to win, which is at least Nia is somewhat protected against doing tons of jobs, and it being on Sasha and Bayley, they aren't often protected that well. So, but we'll see. I would love to see like Trish and Lita come back for WrestleMania, and then they defend against Trish and Lita.
That'd be
cool.
That'd be good. I mean, there's a lot of big talk was that the first people that win the title was supposed to be Lita and Trish.
That was the talk when I think like after Evolution.
When I saw the match, and I saw the angle, and I saw SmackDown, I've been wanting to ask you, what'd you think of? I've been holding off till we do this podcast. What'd you think of the Miz and Shane stuff?
I think that I'm glad they didn't break up yet, but I think they're breaking up at the next show.
Yeah, I think so too.
And
especially with the dad, all that stuff involved.
Yeah, I think the dad is gonna do something, and Shane loses the match or something.
It was kind of funny because I was watching them in the chamber. I didn't get a chance to watch it with you. I had something else going on that day, so I had to watch it later that evening. But when they came out for their entrance, I kind of got right just for some reason in their entrance. I got, you know what? I'm with Garrett on this. I want to see them stick together for a long time past Mania, even though I do believe they're gonna have a Mania match. That's what it's set up for. I just think it'd be interesting if they can become this great tag team, you know, and for a good like 6 to 8 months, and then you do some kind of an angle. But yeah, I thought it was kind of. I wonder if Shane's the one that's going to heel.
Well, I think what we heard originally coming out of, what was it? Coming out of Rumble? There was one show that they were going to do where part of the push for Fox was that Shane was going to be in this like amazing. Actually, it was after the Saudi Arabia show where he wins. Remember, he won that
crown
trophy.
jewel, yeah.
And so the idea was that they're just going to push him super hard as like this dick heel, and then they went away from it. So maybe if he does, maybe then that's kind of leading into the fall for Fox. Or
That's
something.
what I just kind of think. Like I think everyone just assumes
But Miz sucks as a babyface.
he does. Like I mean, I don't really get into the sympathetic stuff with him losing, and it was kind of funny. Like the Shane, like just go home, man. Just go home. Like where's he gonna go? like he's just not gonna leave right now. I don't know. It just seemed kind of goofy, but they had a good match with the Usos. I thought that match actually exceeded my expectations.
Yeah, it was good. I was, because one of them had gotten arrested.
I was gonna say it's okay now to confront cops, and you'll still be rewarded.
Well, I was like, gosh, poor Carmella, supposedly is now with Corey Graves, and from what I understand, they made an audible so that her team lost first, so that they'd be out of the match, and then the Usos, something actually really bad does happen, and then they win. I was like, what the hell's going on?
I know all the drama with Naomi, and then you guys come all on the same team together, which I thought was pretty funny. But yeah. I mean, I can't really comment on Carmella and Corey Graves stuff. It's
just we don't know what it is. It's just out there in the social media because of his wife, who supposedly he's been separated from. So
yeah, it's drama on the social media drama, man. Something I do good. But if Corey Graves and Carmella, good on Corey Graves. That's some.
Okay, so before we move out of the Road to WrestleMania, like I said, there wasn't a ton this week, but if you're NXT and 4 of your best guys are on Raw and maybe even on SmackDown, if they're going to do both shows, how do you book them on NXT?
Well, they still got a lot of angles leading up to MSG. The next tapings next week, I believe, or something like that. They're going to start the next 3 weeks of final build to NXT TakeOver New York. So it's gonna be interesting. They're gonna. I don't. On the main roster, it's gonna look funky because I don't think they really have that big of a plan other than just give them some exposure. But at least when it comes to NXT TV, they'll be presented, correctly.
Gargano and Ciampa are partners on Raw and SmackDown, and I know they're not enemies, at least on the current version of NXT. But there is a little bit of like
tension
between them.
There was just announced that they're going to be in the Dusty Classic as a team. DIY reunites, which kind of sucks because I think they kind of ruined that special moment for fans that are really into that, like that story of them, and threw them on Raw to reunite, which I thought that was kind of goofy. But yeah, I think we're gonna see it's gonna be a lot of head scratching stuff with the NXT guys on the main roster, and until they finally decide or announce why they're having there.
Yeah,
because if you do remember, like my theory is, like I said, they're gonna announce NXT to FS1 or something like that, right?
Is that an exclusive, or is this just something you think?
I just think this is my little theory. And then I also, because they were also really I know they always promoted guys from NXT, the gals from NXT, right, when they come up, but they really pushed the brand NXT on Raw and SmackDown. So they really focused on it. So I think they really do want to get that more out to the masses. And that's like I said, I think it's going to be on FS1.
All right, so that ends the Road to WrestleMania segment, and we'll be back with that segment up until the week of WrestleMania.